Welcome to the Powerful Ladies podcast. I'm Kara Duffy, and today's guest is Kristin, the founder of Gathered in Style, a creative agency based in New York, throwing the coolest luxury events for brands and private families in the city, across the U.S., and internationally too. In this episode, we discuss the realities of being a luxury event and experience planner, how she's managing her sales pipeline with premium clients, her philosophy in building her team, and why passion and relationships allow you to carve your own success lane. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm very excited to speak with you. Before we jump in, let's tell everyone your name, where you are in the world, and what you're known for.
Awesome. My name's Kristin Mitchell. I am coming to you live from New York City, and I'm known for being an event planner in the city. I've been here for 16 years working on the brand side, agency side, and now I have my own business, which I've had for the last 5 years. So I live and breathe parties and around the world. Yes.
And the name of your company is Gathered in Style?
Yes.
You had some pretty prestigious companies that you were working for before you decided to make the leap onto your own business.
Yes.
Was that nerve-wracking? Were you confident? Like, how did you know and how did you feel when you decided to make the leap?
What a good question. I think, I was definitely nervous. I decided to make the leap in COVID. So which was amazing because we weren't having parties then, but I decided to go off on my own and I felt like that was the right time for some reason. But I think ultimately every single place that I was working at, I was at Thomson Reuters for 5.5 years, and then I was at Corcoran for 3, and then I was on the agency side at Wasserman for close to 3. And I felt every single part of my chapter, each chapter and part of my journey was really priming me to start my own business. And it really wasn't until I got on the agency side for that to really come to fruition, because I was running a vertical of business and I kind of started to see how that could work from my side of things and bringing my own personal flair to my own business. And so, I decided to quit in 2020 is when I decided to do it, and I quit in March of 21. And then I took a more personal approach, and I did a lot of social events and personal parties, which I still do to this day. But that's really what was happening in COVID. People were starting to have parties in their homes, and that's still very much a thing. Like out east, my first client is this amazing family that I still work for to this day. And they're just incredible. And they have all these amazing parties in their home. And I really focused on that for a while, and now I'm getting back to the brand side. But I think that, which is really my bread and butter, but I think ultimately all of these experiences really laid the foundation for where I am today. And I think that's really what your life and career is all about. You just continue to learn, and that kind of preps you for what you really want to do.
Yeah. When you were growing up, or if we go back to 8-year-old you, would she have imagined that this is your life today?
Definitely not, because I'm from West Virginia originally, and I had never been to New York ever. I came here when I was a sophomore in college, and we went to dinner with my dad's best friend, and he was like, "Oh, if you ever need an internship, like you could come intern for Thomson Reuters." And I was like, okay, cool. Sounds interesting. And then I needed an internship to graduate. And so that's how I came to New York, and I fell in love with the city. I literally never would have imagined being in the city.
Yeah.
Now, looking back though, like in high school, I did have parties when my parents were out of town. And I was always throwing parties. And even in college, like from the time I could have a party, I was having parties. So I definitely think that was always looking back in my blood. But I definitely would have never thought I would have been in New York. Never was in my plan. So
I threw so many parties in my early 20s, and they were always themed. And one I am most proud of was having an après ski party in early January.
Oh, wow.
And I had a very tiny backyard. This is in Boston. Like, a patio, essentially, not even a backyard. And I went around my neighborhood and collected every Christmas tree that was on the side of the road, pulled them all in to make an entire landscape in the backyard that felt like we were in the forest. My friends were like, what did you do? I'm like, well, they were going to go in the trash anyway, and we're going to use them for one night, and it makes it look cooler.
Wait, what year was this? Like, when was this?
2005, 6.
Wow, I feel like that's very forward thinking of you. Now that's like all the rage. I feel like everyone's having at-risk parties now. So you were very ahead of the curve.
So ahead of the curve. But it was just, I love excuses for people to kind of like let their guard down and have a good time. And I love connecting people. So anytime there's a container I can put them in, I really appreciate it.
Yes.
But I'm by no means do I ever think in my wildest imagination that I could pull off what you do, because the level of detail, and there's so much pressure when you're working in the luxury space with premium clients and premium brands. It's like throwing a wedding for every event that you're doing. That's how it occurs to me on the outside. Is that how it feels to you doing it?
I mean, such a good question. I think now, no, because it's now definitely just, it's what I do. And there is so many details that go into it and planning, and you're just constantly reviewing the plans, not only with your team, but with your clients. And I create these elaborate decks that's like, there's really no questions in terms of what they're going to be expecting. But I do remember when I first started, I was like 22, and I was like in charge of planning Thomson Reuters Stanford, Connecticut holiday party. And I thought that was like incredible. And it was incredible. But I remember being so nervous. I would always listen to M&Ms till I collapse, because it would just like get me so. And yeah, at the time I was like, this is crazy that I'm doing this. Like, how wild. And yeah, at the time I remember feeling like the gravity of what an event was, because there are so many details and the guest expectations, and are they going to have a good time? And now I'm like, well, yeah, they're obviously going to have a good time, because I'm going to be there hosting them. But it's true. I mean, I do think as an event planner and your team, you're very much part of the experience, and you have to be able to not fold under pressure, and just kind of, there is something going wrong, you're there with a smile, and nobody knows the difference. So, because there always is something going wrong. Like
always.
Weather is always the bane of my existence. So
You must look at event planners out here and be like, they have it so easy.
No, I do, until I did the Grammys in last year and the Wildfires. I was like, this is the shit I never would have ever thought would happen. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to do the Grammys in LA. It's going to be awesome. The weather's going to be perfect. Our brunch is on the roof. Nope. Couldn't have it on the roof because of the wildfires. And it was like obviously very tragic. It was actually one of the most heartbreaking times that I had as a planner, because it was like all of my vendors were like losing work. People were deciding not to have parties. And it was just like so insane that this was happening. Coming from New York, and I was like, I mean, like we were dealing with like hurricanes and like rain. I'm dealing with rain, I feel like. But like with a wildfire like that and like the smoke, and it was just like, I was like, wow, that's crazy. But you know, most of the time in LA, it's amazing working there.
Yeah. Well, you have another thing to like check off on your bingo card now. Like wildfires, yes, we've done that. We can handle that now too.
I'm like, anything can happen. Just, you just never know. And that's why I tell everyone, I'm like, with events, like, you just have no idea what can go wrong. Like your wildest, like even in COVID, like did anyone think there was going to be a national, world pandemic? No. Like nobody ever thought that. And like, I remember at that time, I was like coming off the Super Bowl that was 2019. It was in Miami. And I was like, I mean, we were on cloud 9. It was amazing. That was in February. And then the world shut down like a month later. And I remember being like, holy shit, like, what if this happened? And then like the Final Four was going on, like all the, kind of ball events were happening. And I was like, This is insane. When Adam Silver shut down the NBA, I was like, this is going to be big. I was like, this is like him saying to me that this is happening. And then I genuinely thought it was only going to be 2 weeks, but it was obviously years. So.
Yeah. And the ripple effects that we are still feeling in different ways.
I mean, absolutely. All the time. So.
Potentially controversial opinion. I love New York so much more after COVID.
Oh, God.
And I don't know if it's just, there's been like a personality shift in the city, which I really appreciate. I was sad when I first went back after COVID shut down, like how many places were empty and like looking for leases. But it's brought back this vitality and appreciation where every time I go, and for a while I was going like once a quarter because I have clients there too. And being on the East Coast, from the East Coast, I need that fill up. Like I need to top up my tank. But I've appreciated the city so much more since than I think I was beforehand.
I agree with that. I think here now, like even through Sandy, like I don't know, New York is so resilient. Like even in San everyone's like, financial district is never going to be the same. And that's where I live. And it's like, amazing. I love it here. Like when COVID was happening, everyone was like, New York's never going to bounce back. Like it's never. And I was like, yes, it is. Like this is New York City. Like, of course, going to bounce back. Like I'm going to want to come here. And honestly, the worst mistake I feel like I made was maybe not investing in real estate during that time. But, and that was the one window to do so. Now you can't buy here now. So it always does bounce back. And I agree. Like, I think when it goes through the turmoil, you really do appreciate how special this place is.
Well, I think your home state might be the only place anyone can afford to live at all right now.
Yes.
I keep looking, I consider Boston home and okay, what would it look like to live there? What would it look like to live in New York City? The prices are really no different than what we're spending out here either. I think every place is talking about how, even Austin, Texas, like pricing is crazy right now. It's just this global phenomenon. Even there's all these content creators I follow out of Australia. They're also losing their mind about how no one can buy anything. I'm like, at what point does this bubble burst? Because we can't have all these people who want homes and can't afford them.
I know. I think about that a lot. Like, what is the American dream in that respect anymore? Like, I don't know. Like, I would always love the fantasize of owning a home. I will say, like, I love renting because obviously I own a business and like, I'm like, I couldn't imagine breaking down all of these because I receive like the volumes of like packages I receive. I'm like, I couldn't imagine like breaking down all the boxes, like all the recycling I have to like sort through if it were like coming to my house or my apartment. Like I would have to deal with that. But like, I don't know, my building like handles the receiving of all my packages and like I actually like love renting from that respect, like running a business here in the city. But yeah, I think about that. I'm like, I don't know, like if I'll ever own a home. I don't know if I can. So
it's very European. Most Europeans don't own their home, and most New Yorkers don't either. So we can just turn it into the chic moment and just go with it.
That's what looking at the positive for it. I'm like, everyone should start a business and just embrace rent it, yeah. I guess. I don't know. But fantasize of owning a home and like, because I love decorating and
yes.
And I'm like, I can't like drill all of these lights that I want into the walls, because it's like the wires will just be like, hey, I don't know. Like it's like amazing. Like these I want like drilled into the walls and I can't have any of them. And that's like tragic, but it's fine. I'll hopefully one of these days.
It's something that I'm dealing with in my house right now too, because I'm also a renter and I've been here for a while. I'm like, okay, like it's time to either move or I need to just commit to decorating this place fully the way I want to. Mm-hmm. And I've moved so much that there's a part of me that's like, once I do this, as soon as it's done, I'll be like, oh, and we are moving. So that was a fun project, but
yeah. I know, and I'm like really into like peel and stick wallpaper, and like I'll just do that now. Like I will just do that. I'm like in my little corner over here, my cocktail corner. I'm gonna like do not in that corner, which will be really cute, but haven't gone that far yet.
When you look at where you're getting inspiration from, like the events you do are so varied and so diverse with different clients and different themes and focuses and mood boards. How are you, either in your like digital drive or in your brain, like how are you storing all of the ideas? And do you just have huge, massive lists and Pinterest boards? Like there's so much I feel that's like inbound that you have to kind of contain and hold on to.
I mean, how many Pinterest boards? Like it's because my teammates fun of me. I'm like, don't even like Pinterest. Like I have so many like ideas. But like also like manifest events I want to do. Like I really want like the US Open, and I have this like whole like board on like core events. I love Pinterest. But like how I do find my inspiration is, well, number one, traveling. I really do draw a lot of inspiration through travel, and like wherever I am doing an event, I do like it to have a sense of place, because I think that, you know, kind of the design authentic and carries through. But ultimately it's what the client wants. And a lot of my inspiration is drawn from what the client wants, their style, and like what they're interested in, and also the stories that they're trying to tell. You know, a lot of things, it's not really like my agenda to push. I do have one client who's like something and like just do, and like I know that, but a lot of times like my clients do have like specific thoughts and like what they want to tell, and you know, are that and bring that to life. And I love it, because that's what makes everything so different. Like a 50th birthday party in the fall for a big client, and like find some of these things that they're wanting doesn't make sense, but then they'll tell a story about like why they want it. And it's like, it to make sense for it to make sense, because it's like what they want, and it's their personal story that they're trying to tell. And it's like really so cool to be able to bring people's personal, you know, kind of journeys and preferences to life in that way. It makes sense because they're the person that makes it make sense. So yeah, so it, you know, ultimately draw a lot of inspiration from everywhere. And like, and honestly, being in New York was like inspiration of it all, because everyone here is trying to dial it up, I feel like. So it's like everything's so interesting. I go out to dinner all the time. I'll be in a cool space. I'm really inspired by beautiful spaces. Honestly, that's like one of my biggest inspirations. And in that respect, when I do at a venue, I always try to like make the design work for the way the space looks, because I think it just like enhances it all together. So it just, you know, it just depends on a lot of variables. It comes from everywhere, honestly.
I think a lot of people who have their own agencies and they're doing kind of client services, they would love to have high profile brands and private clients, and they don't know where to start to kind of break through into those spaces. How have you worked to build your roster of clients, and what would you recommend to someone starting today?
Question. One, like you, when starting a business, should always remember that you never know where your lead is going to come from. Like it can literally come from anywhere. Like for when I started my business was a referral through an assistant that I worked with when I was at Thomson Reuters. And she remembered me from like when I worked with her a lot. Executive that she worked with like really believed in hosting his clients at all of my events. And so like I did the Super Bowl with him. I did the White House Correspondents' Dinner a few times. And like, so I worked with her very closely. He had like at all things, he would have like clients.
Wow.
So it would be like he was a really big player in this. He was working at my client's company. And so when I launched my business, she saw it on LinkedIn and she was like, oh, I know you guys are like, oh, with like finding an event planner that like you should definitely reach out to Kristin. Like she's the best. And that's how my first client. So it's like, I really think ultimately, you know, and she was an assistant, like, and that's just who I am. I'm like really nice to everyone. And it's like, so I think it's like, you know, you're doing the same and, you know, you're just kind of people. And I think it always comes back to you, like no matter what. And that's kind of how that's how I live my life. And I think it does, it comes back to you if you're just like a kind person and you work hard, honestly. So
like how much of your business is referral versus you're doing cold outreach?
I am 100% referral. I haven't marketing. And like, except for like on Instagram, which is like, I don't even promote my posts. I just like, I use Instagram to stay top of mind. It's definitely because I'm like, wow, if I actually marketed myself, I'd probably have more clients. But I like also don't have time. Like I don't have time to do that right now. So it's like I clients, and that's actually the why I really focus on brands and social versus weddings. I started my business. I was doing some weddings. Love the ongoing client relationship. Like I being able to have a client and know who they are, and like they're always my client, and I get to like I know their preferences, I know how they work, and like I love that. Like the client relationship is really like my favorite part about it. Whereas like weddings, it's like it's an amazing 1-year relationship, and then it's like it's over. So yeah, it's like for me, it's like it's all referral, and I do love it that way right now. I think one of these days, like maybe you might do marketing, but I don't know. I love being a referral. Awesome. All my clients are so amazing, like from somebody I know, and like it's truly like I have the best clients because of that. So
such an amazing reflection on the work that you're doing.
I mean, definitely, and I think that's ultimately like so kind of everyone to like refer me, and I think that seriously that's why I started a business. And I was like, you're so serious and professional. I'm like, well, yeah, like I take planned parties, and like it sounds like, oh, it's so fun. It is fun, but it is a very serious job. And I'm dealing with people's, finances. And I take that like very seriously. Like I don't, my clients like the best deal. I like to be transparent about prices. It's like I take it very seriously. So
I think the other thing that kind of mystifies people is that there is a way that you can earn money doing what you love.
Yeah.
And often more money than you ever expected you could earn. For people who haven't jumped to this dark side that we're on, how would you encourage people to go after what they see as a possibility?
Oh my gosh, what a good question. I mean, how would I encourage somebody? Honestly, like my friends, like Josie, who's on my team, and he's like sharp side, fun side. But like when I was like business 5 years ago, I remember being like, Josie, I know this isn't gonna make sense, but like you just gotta like go for it and just promise me, like, or just like you make more money, and as long as you work hard and believe in yourself. Like one of my favorite quotes is from Teddy Roosevelt, and it's like, believe yourself and you're halfway there. And I really do believe that that's true, and like want to honestly like believe self, and you want to be an entrepreneur. You also have to want to be an entrepreneur. I also really don't think everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. A lot of times it is like a fantasy, and people are like, oh, that would be cool. Like there's a lot of great jobs out there. Like I shouldn't say like, oh yeah, everyone needs to go and be an entrepreneur, because like maybe they don't have the hustle and the grit. Like you have to really like positive, like there's a lockdown a lot. It's not like always glamorous. There's going to be times where you're going to think that, especially in the beginning, you might think you're going to run out of money. Like, what am I going to do when I like the coming in? I thought this was going to lock, it didn't, or like it didn't hit when it did, or like I got paid late. It's like things to balance and know, and just, you got to like just keep going, and you're going to get knocked down. And I think just believing if you want to do it, you have to be just relentless, and I don't want to say delusional, but like you just have to be like very delusional and believing in yourself, and just like know that it's going to work out if you just put in the work and the time. You just like really have to want to do it, and you have to be passionate. Like if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're probably not going to make it. Like if you're just like, oh, I'm going to start a business, like no, you have to be so fucking passionate. Because like otherwise I don't like really probably gonna go as well as you think.
Well, and there's 90% of it isn't glamorous.
No. And it's so hard, and you're constantly dealing with just like different dynamics at all times. And I look at myself and my business as like an extension of my client and their team, whether I am joining a brand team. And like I'm working at the Apollo Theater is like one of my biggest clients, and I adore them. And it's like I'm joining their marketing team, to help support bring their events to life. And I plug in from a design and production perspective. that's very different than like when I'm working with my social families, you know? You have to be adaptable, and there's a lot of different personalities on every single side. And like, you know, you have to just be positive. I am overly positive. All my friends, I don't know if they make fun of me, but like, they're always like, oh, Kristin's being positive. Like, I'm like, you just have to, like, it's really hard. Like, and you just have to know that and stay positive.
How have you changed since you've had your business?
How have I changed? I have become so much more confident. I think when I first started, I was always like, you know, everyone I would work with, like before I started my business, would be like, Kristin, you're the best. Like, you are the best. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. That's so nice of them to say. And it's like, I believed it, but it's like, when I started like going out there and like, you know, really kind of nurturing my client relationships and like really putting myself out there, and I do feel like it gave me a lot of confidence I didn't necessarily completely have. It's like, you know, like I said, I believed in myself, but it's like I definitely am more confident, and I'm like, you know, am I the best? No, but like I do think I'm like one of the best, and I don't think anyone is the best though. Like I really don't think that. I think that you are in a lot of great company in being the best. So,
well, and I think this is what leads to there being so much room for everyone's business and perspective, because you might be the best for the Apollo Theater, but you might not be the best for something else because it's not aligned with you. It's different teams. There's so much space. Even in a industry with so many competitors, there's still so much room for you to be you and make those relationships and make magic together that couldn't have been made if it was a different assortment of people.
That is so true. And I say this all the time. That's what's amazing about entrepreneurship. So many of these people who are my peers, and like, they also work on events with me as well. Like one of my best friends in the industry, Raquel, she's an amazing wedding planner. And like, she works with me on the Apollo. And it's like, there is so much room for people to like carve out a niche for themselves, go and like work with. It's just like, I don't know. It's a beautiful space that everyone can just like go and like find their people, whether it's the client or like people to work with. And I think that's what, makes it so exciting, is because you do find your personal space in the work.
What is one example of where you're really proud of like pulling out your magic wand and making something happen that probably shouldn't have happened?
This is a small example. We deal with a lot of talent, and last summer, this artist, I was talking to his manager, and I was like, okay, well, what is his hospitality rider? Like, what does he need? And I think he said he wanted fish, sugar-free gum, like coconut water, the like fruit and vegetables. Very particular things that they like. He was like, whatever you're serving at the venue is cool. I'm at the event, and one of the staff comes up to me and was like, oh, like so-and-so isn't like pleased with his dinner. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, he doesn't like halibut. And I was like, well, his manager said that fish was fine. And I guess he like preferred grilled salmon, and the manager didn't clarify this. Anyway, so I'm like, oh, holy shit. And so I go up to my teammate, Jeremy. I'm like, Jeremy, give me your keys. We drove to the venue that day. Like, give me your keys. Like, I drive to IGA, and like, I run to the back of the store, and I like get all the fillets. There's this like man there being like, how did you like know that I was about to buy all these fillets? Like, I'm having people over tonight. Like, I need the salmon. I was like, I need the salmon, actually way more than you. And so like, I run, like check out, I'm to the captain. And we give this artist his grilled salmon, and I was like, and that's just, you know, you go and beyond for everyone, because like I take hospitality very seriously, and I just like want everyone to be happy, no matter who it is. And obviously like I want my artists to be happy. That was like one story of like where I just was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna just go get this salmon now for us to work there.
Well, and such a great example of often whoever's in charge ends up being the one that's doing the randomest tasks in a day, Because everyone else has their thing. So you're like, oh, we need white shoelaces. Okay, I guess I'll figure that out because...
No, that is exactly right. Like my mom always asks me, she's like, what's your day-to-day like? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like it varies every day. Like one time I was in Ibiza, and this is when I was working for Corcoran, and like an agent like had lost his phone the night before. And like I was down in the lobby, like seeing people off for the offshore activities, like on their buses. And I see him like in the lobby with like his computer. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, can I help you? And he was like, I lost my phone. Like, I don't know where it is. And like, I said, but I see it's here. And like, we go to the concierge, and like we call the phone, and somebody who's German picks up. And luckily the concierge like spoke German. And he was like, they're at this beach club. And we're like, okay, cool. Meanwhile, like we had been going to like the best beach clubs in Ibiza. And so like I was expecting it to be like real posh. No, we get out of the taxi and it smells like fried chicken and cigarettes. And I was like, where are we? Like, what is happening? And I'm like, this is hilarious. And we ended up getting the phone, but it's just like, I mean, I never know what happens with me. I'm like, this is what I do.
It's part of what I love about being an entrepreneur is that while I have a calendar that I live and die by, and everything's scheduled and I have all the to-do lists, every day could change. And it's why I have buffer times all through my calendar and my week. It's why I tell my clients to, because I think something that people don't do when they're pricing out projects a lot is they don't put the buffer in for the I don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And I think like hospitality, when you're in service in general, I want myself and my clients to be able to say yes and not resent that they just changed their whole schedule or spend 5 hours going to a club smelling like cigarettes and fried chicken and be like, well, we lost profit on this event now. So we have to build in the profit for the being able to say yes and go above and beyond if that's in our personality types. Other people don't like doing those things.
Yeah.
But like building that in and knowing chances are something ridiculous is going to happen. So is that built into the budget?
No, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And this actually makes me think of like one more story of like last year. And this was crazy actually. So like I would do this annual harvest party at one of my clients' houses every year in Rumson. And last year she was having like a lot of landscaping done, and she had like a lot of stuff done to her house, and like she wanted it done before the party. Well, I guess like her landscaper decides to resod the lawn like the day we were installing the tent. And so I'm telling you, like it was dirt. There was literal dirt everywhere. And I don't know, like, I mean, for people who are listening, I didn't know this because I don't have a lawn, but like when you sod a lawn, like you have to like let it sit for like weeks for it to like take root. So they're like literally like rolling out this grass like carpet. And I'm like, this landscaper, I was like, you're going to have to like take a hit on this because this tent is going in and I need to know like when this grass is going to be laid. And like, so I wasn't even supposed to like be there physically that day because like I said, I have been doing this event for her for like now 5 years. And so we had this down to a science. Sperry tent knows what they're doing. We put the tent in the same place every year. Yes, the theme is different, but the tent is always where it goes. And so I was like, I don't need to be there. No, I drive down to Rumson. I'm like overseeing, micromanaging this like sod situation. And Josie and I are like, what is happening? Like, this is the shit you just like can't make up. Like, if we weren't there, the sod, who knows what would have happened with the sod, given this like landscaper was so broke. But it was like just ridiculous. And I'm just like, but honestly, I know it's like crazy, but like this is the type of stuff that like honestly makes me love my job because the cubes are like really interesting. I'm like, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen ever.
Now you know all about sod.
I know a lot about sod.
Meanwhile, you're like, I just want to go on Pinterest and make boards and make things look pretty. Like, come on.
Yeah. And that's honestly, I have an amazing team because how I'm like trying to like keep myself like higher level and making things look pretty, but like yeah, but sometimes you gotta get involved, and I love getting involved. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing today. Like, this is what I've been born to do. So here we are.
You bring up like the having a team component, and I'm such an advocate for entrepreneurs need people, whether they are contractors or they are employees. Like, we need people. We should not do business or life alone. How quickly did you start having team members that weren't like vendor partnerships? And how have you been at like delegating and kind of going out of the doing to the CEOing in your own process?
Yeah, that's a great question. Josie's been working with me since I started, even like when she was at Wasserman, like when I started, but she left, I think when I was 2 years in to my business. So she's been working now for 3 years. I 299 everyone. I'm the only full-time employee of my business, but I look at my contractors as my teammates. I treat them as my team. Now that we're like growing, I like to look at them like across many projects, like playing the same type of role across like many projects. So it's like, it doesn't feel as like disjointed, and like it just feels like a more core, like a core team. That's like how I've been structuring it lately, like in the past like year and a half. And I think it's really been working well. Because also too, you know, clients like consistency. And when I was starting out, I could handle the clients I had, and it was me, and I could do that. But like, as you grow, like I can't be everywhere at all times. I can't be on every call. Hiring people that you trust and that they know their expectation, like your expectations. And it's definitely something I have struggled with. I can't say that I'm perfect, but it's really kind of empowering them to do the work and trusting them. And I think that is really what it's all about. And you have them work on things that they like. Some people on my team don't like working on like design. So it's like, I'm not going to put my tech producer on design with me, you know? So it's like, I have to like, I carve out specific focus roles for people. And a lot of people that I'm not, like I have started to bring even more into the fold. I can see if I'm not there one day, this person can like step in to do this. I think that it's putting the right people in the right seats is the most important. And that's like what makes me feel comfortable with it all going well. And especially if they're having fun. Like if they're having fun and they like love to do it, that's how you ensure success, I think.
How would you define a powerful lady?
A powerful lady? Someone who is kind and listens, but also stands up for herself. I think you have to be confident in your ideas and your approach, and not everything is going to go perfect. And you have to also give yourself grace and know that maybe this event didn't go perfect because like of something outside of your control, like, you know, and you can't hold on to that. Like there's been a lot of times where I have imagined an event a certain way because of beautiful weather. And then the rain backup plan happens and you're like, okay, that's hard for me because I understand what the event was going to be, but the guest doesn't know. The guest had no idea what you had planned in your mind. And that's the thing, like with the client, like when you're planning at the beginning, you have to tell them, like you have to be as comfortable with your backup plan as your number one plan, because it might not happen. And you have to like not be attached to that. You can't just like be so attached to things that you like let it ruin your whole world. Just being confident in your ideas and just knowing that things don't always go according to plan, but everything happens for a reason, I guess. So
when you're not running your business and running to get salmon for important guests, how are you spending your time? How are you filling your cup?
Work out a lot. I love going to classes and the gym. Working out, it's more than just vanity. It's all honestly for mental health. That's really what it started out as at the beginning years ago. But yeah, it's like that. I just find working out very therapeutic. And recently I've gotten back into boxing and bar classes, which has been really fun. But also just hanging out with friends. I love going to restaurants and like having a great dinner with my friends and just catching up and learning about like their lives and what they're up to. I think a lot of times I definitely get like really consumed with work. So I've been trying to find time to carve out to be with my friends and honestly my family too. Now there's a direct flight back to West Virginia from Newark on Breeze Airlines. Thank you, Bree.
Wow.
And so now I can get home in an hour and a half, which is incredible. I'm from Charleston, West Virginia, and I haven't had a direct flight since probably 2015. So it's been a long time, and now I can go home easy instead of having to connect through Atlanta. So it's nice.
It really is like such a difference when a trip goes from an 8-hour ordeal to an hour and a half.
Such a big difference. I mean, it is a game changer.
One of the things that we've been asking everyone is, what do you need? How can we help? What's on your wish list, your manifest list? How can we help you?
I guess spreading the word. That's such a good question. Like, nobody ever asked to help me. Yeah, like spreading the word. I'm constantly trying to grow my following because I'm not an influencer. I think when I first started my business, I was like obsessed with like having a larger following, and like now I just hit 3,000 and I'm like, okay, that's fine, like thank God, like I made it to 3,000, but like I just don't have time to make content, and like but I definitely do love demystifying what events is all about, because I think a lot of times people just don't understand, and especially like they're like, oh, okay, like, well, why do I need to pay this much money? It's like, well, okay, who's like going to do all this work? It's like, and this goes back to our earlier point with like, you're not always the right fit for some people. And like people who like truly understand events and like what goes into it, and like having a premium event is a luxury. Like not everyone can do them. And like not everyone can afford an event planner. When you hire a premium event planner, like they're doing so much that you just don't even see. They're just like learning about sod, going and get salmon. There's just like shit that just goes down that like you just don't even know, because like they don't tell you. Like, why? I'm not going to tell my client that I ran out and got salmon for this artist. I'm not going to say that. Like, but like I did it. Yeah, I'm not like looking for glory or anything. It's just like, this is what I do. And it's like, we are an insurance policy. So I think it's just like demystifying what events is and like the random shit that happens. It's just like, it's funny. And
Yes.
what we do. And yeah, so I think just spreading that word and let people know.
And then on the personal side, is there anything that you need or want?
No, honestly, like on the personal side, no. I'm in my cooking era, so I'm trying to learn, cook a little bit better. But I think personally, no. I think if there's any amazing event planners that want to work hard, and I hate to say this and I don't want to hate on Gen Z, but it's like, I need people to work hard, like I need you to show up to work. I can't have lame excuses. And if there's anyone who wants to, join a fun team and work hard and has a positive attitude, send me a resume. That would be great.
Yeah. I mean, the conversation about the work ethic around Gen Z has been really interesting. It's come up on quite a few
really?
podcasts. Yeah, because
It's rough out there.
And I've been pulled into some companies to coach all generations about different styles and what does it mean to work hard and different reasons and what is expected. And one of my clients recently said that she thinks her summary for kind of the Gen Z work thing is that they don't tie their value to their output. They're like, I just show up and I'm worth this. And you're like, no,
I agree.
That's not how it works.
Okay, I agree with this. Yes, I agree. Because it's like, I mean, like I said, like every job that I've had has laid the foundation like for where I am now. And it's like, what has happened to this generation where they just don't care? They think that they deserve it. I'm like, did you work for this? Did you put in the blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point? No, you didn't. And until I see some initiative here, like, I don't know, like, I can't, I don't feel comfortable. It's like, I will literally pay more so I don't have to deal with that. Like, I will, like, pay a more experienced person because I just, like, cannot handle.
And I do think there's some things that we should expect. Should we expect to have healthcare from ourselves or the government or our job. Yeah, humans deserve healthcare. And should we expect to be treated well? Yes. There's a lot of, I think, stuff that the millennial generation has been in this funky position of we can work hard, but wait, should we be dealing with that at the same time? And I feel like there's a little bit of the baby thrown out with the bathwater for we'll call it the current Gen Z condition, which is not applied to everyone. I know lots of people who are in that generation who kick some butt.
Yeah.
But there
Absolutely.
is this idea of there's a level of, don't you want to prove yourself? Don't you want to have that confidence in yourself from doing the work and producing the outcome and seeing how far you can push yourself and seeing what magic you can create versus just clocking in and clocking out?
I agree. And not everyone in that generation is that way, but it's like I just have been seeing it more and more because I am, looking for younger people to, I'm not 22 anymore. And like I would like to, have some younger people to coach, but it's like it's almost like they don't want to be coached. They like already think that they're really great. It's like, yeah, like maybe you are great in your own way, but like you still have to learn how things are done. And it's like I like to learn from them too. I like to learn from the youth. I'm always looking for young people, but like we also have to like work hard because it's like there is a level of service and expectation that I have that like a lot of times I don't see, and I'm like, oh, this is just sad. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
I do think at a broader level, it's happening in like different generations, different socioeconomic groups, different genders. Like there's a huge conversation, right, about the gap between men and women and like who's getting degrees, who's rising the corporate ladder. Like there's all this weird stuff. And everyone I know who I would put in like the awesome and up to something category, like all my favorite humans, people who are doing really cool things, no matter what their demographic assortment is, they're all working hard, they're all focused, they all equally know how to, like they have a balance of working hard and taking care of themselves and wanting to produce greatness both in work and in life. And
absolutely,
chasing that, I think adds parts to your personality, but it also proves that you can do it.
Absolutely. I mean, 100%. I think that it goes back to just like feeling confident, right? Like for me, like working hard and like doing, like actually participating in work and life, it just makes me more confident. And I think that ultimately that's what life is all about. And you learn. I love learning. I feel like that's the other thing. Like I've noticed, like even with this generation, it's like they don't really want to learn a lot, and it's like I feel like I'm always learning. I never want to stop learning. And like, even with AI, I love learning about AI. People are like, are you threatened by AI? I'm like, not at all. Like I need AI in my business.
AI can never go and run and get salmon.
No,
so,
like
nope.
literally, I know. And I'm like, I'm genuinely not threatened at all, like within my business, but it's like, it actually makes me more efficient. And like, I like learning about ways to become more efficient and like adapting to the technology and like, the way things are moving. It's like, I'm not going to be over here just being like, no, that's not how it's done. It's like, I don't know, there's probably a better way that things can be done. And so I am always stay open-minded to that. And I just, hope that's not lost. And
no. Well, it has been such a pleasure to get to know you and have this conversation today. Thank you for the incredible events and the beautiful experiences that you're putting together for people. I enjoy your Instagram just strictly for inspiration for myself, being like, ooh, even just some of the photography that's on your page is stunning. But thank you. Thank you for creating these cool events. Thank you for creating a space where you want to coach other people. It's nice to know that there's another incredible entrepreneur out there kicking butt too.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for the time. This was so much fun.
For everybody who wants to hire you, work for you, send you their resume, where can they do all those things?
They can go to my website, gatheredinstyle.com, and my email's there, so just send me an email. I prefer email versus like going through the contact form, so just hit me up and let me know. Or you could DM me on Instagram too. I'm not precious about that either, so.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you so much. You too.
Thanks for listening to the Powerful Ladies podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, leave us a review, or share it with a friend. Head to thepowerfulladies.com where you can find all the links to connect with today's guest, show notes, discover episodes, enjoy bonus content, and more. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode and new amazing guest. Make sure you're following us on Instagram or Substack @PowerfulLadies to get the first preview of next week's episode. You can find me and all my socials at karaduffy.com. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.